Mandla, the topic of today's episode is about humility in business. What does Conquer Your Mountains say about that?
I'll read from page 103 and 104. It says, "We live in a world of entropy that is full of chaos, disorder, and energy-draining moments. A body that is not well looked after can lead to all sorts of unhealthy reactions that eventually permeate our souls and spirit."
That's a beautiful piece out of your book, but I'm not sure what this has to do with humility in business. Can you please explain a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure, Amanda. So businesses and the people in them take lots of damage as they run the competitive race, dodging all sorts of chaos and issues. If you remember in the old days when there used to be lots of bugs on the highway, drive for 100 Ks and you have to clean your windscreen because of all the muck that you take up. As an aside, I don't know where all those bugs have gone now, but business is like that. You take grime and damage as you move on. It actually requires humility to take time to pause and to assess what cleaning and repairs need to be made. It's like when you take your car for your annual service, the humility aspect is that the mechanic will tell you directly the things that are wrong with your driving that are actually damaging it. And humility means accepting that. If he says you are damaging your clutch because you are resting your leg on it, being humble enough to acknowledge that you need to do something differently.
Humility is an interesting term to associate with business. How do you recognize that a business has humility?
Yeah, Amanda, there's 3 signs that I look out for. The first one is how the organization is behaving internally, and it talks to how people relate to each other, the types of conversations that they have with each other, how they handle confrontation and bad news, how they share good news internally. Is someone bragging that I did this? It was a credit. Or is the whole team saying, yay, we did it. We did it together. So that organizational behavior is the first thing that tells me that the business has humility inbuilt.
All right.
And the second is how decisions are made. A business that has humble leaders, you'll find that in their decisions, there's a lot more listening that goes on. And that's why this podcast title refers to a listening business.
Yes, that makes sense.
Where a business that is not humble is not listening, but it's telling. People are just giving orders. And often that can destroy value and capital by not listening. And then the last aspect is relationships. How do you relate to your customers and other stakeholders? How do you relate to your board members? When those people give you advice that you don't like, are you humble enough to accept it and take it on without feeling that your ego has been poked? Or do you react with annoyance, like, how dare you tell us this? We actually know more. And this shows that you don't understand our business. I mean, that could be a response that is not humble.
Like taking offense at any feedback, yeah.
Yeah, taking feedback is a humble business. And when I say humble, our spirit of humility is not meaning that you are not proud of what you do and of who you are. You can be humble and still be a market leader and still be the best in your industry.
I think that's very important for people to hear. And can corporate humility drive renewal and innovation?
Yeah, when you're a listening business, you'll be driven to be more creative and you might take more risks because you have more and better information.
Okay.
And you focused on learning, and learning comes with humility. And learning is one of the first ingredients of creating innovation. And through that, you'll have more breakthroughs and really novel solutions that you didn't otherwise have thought of. And to do that, I believe that you need to always have open dialogue with your colleagues and teams, that you are learning from failures and adapting, that you are focused on your ultimate users in terms of how you design solutions and innovations. And also that you're always trying to improve the way you do things, your process improvement. Process improvement, by definition, means something was not ideal. So it takes humility to say, I'm going to enhance this process and do things a lot better.
So a listening business will definitely then, according to those things, be more focused on their customers and how they can serve instead of how they can get.
Yes, certainly. The thing about customers is that they do force us to be humble, because customers are fairly judgmental about the services and products that they buy from us.
Well, they do pay for
Judgmental
it.
because they've paid money. Yes. Yeah, so because customers have outlaid money that is dear to them, they are going to keep pushing us to improve our product, because the better we can become, the better value they can get.
Absolutely. And what impact does a humble listening business have on its teams, would you say?
Ultimately, it creates safety within the team, and I'm referring to psychological safety. And that safety comes from employees feeling that they can share openly without being criticized. Employees feeling that they can challenge something and not feel that they'll now not get an increase because they were too challenging. So that psychological safety enables people to feel safe in taking risks, knowing that just because you took a risk and it didn't work out, you're now not going to be fired the next day. And in that environment, innovation flourishes. There's a lot more creativity that comes from that area of trust and vulnerability.
That's great. What misconceptions would you say exist about businesses that are humble?
I think a misconception could be that humility is a weakness. In fact, it's a strength. So if you a soccer team and you won the league last year, it doesn't mean that you are guaranteed to win this year, because the things that made you strong last year could become the market average. So if there's a particular formation that was great for your team and helped you score more goals, your competitors have studied that, and you start a new season and now everyone has copied your style.
Yes, and now you're not the leader in the market anymore.
Yes, so that's why you have to be humble, even though you are on top of the league, to be humble enough to say, I actually need to keep developing. I need to survey my imperfections and be authentic in terms of being a listening business. It's about avoiding the myth of self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency means you become proud in a negative way. Think that you are it and you have it all, and that can limit your future growth. And you need to replace self-sufficiency with interdependency, not only internally, but externally. And ultimately, embrace diversity. The more differences of views and differences of thoughts you have with the people that you're working with, the stronger you will be for it.
That was very, very informative. I've never heard about a humility mentality in a business. Thank you for that. My name is Amanda De Witt, and I am the senior editor at LUCA, the faith and inspiration imprint of Penguin Random House South Africa.
And I am Mandla Moyo, the author of an inspirational book called Conquer Your Mountains, as well as a science fiction book called The Fallen Angel. If you are following the Conquer Your Mountains reading plan, you are in week 30, that is the name Amos and Obadiah. Keep me humble.